Hi, this is Becky, and today I'm going to talk about Mission US. It is a web-based role-playing game put out by the Public Media Project. So what is Mission US? It is a role-playing game set in historical periods, which gives it a great tie-in for social studies instructions. Students take on the identity of a teen in these time periods, which allows them to really connect with that character. Students make choices for that character throughout the game, which is going to affect how that game is played, and then also how the characters interact with their character. Students are going to witness and experience historical events. They're going to get to interact with historical places and people, which is really a great way for them to learn and make those connections. The games are historically accurate, and they take about 1 to 2.5 hours to complete, depending on which game you're playing and the speed that your students go through it. But the games are broken into parts, so that way teachers can control about how far students are getting in the game per day, so that they can make sure that it matches with their instruction. Currently there are 6 games. There's another one coming soon on the antebellum era. The first one is the American Revolution, then there's Westward Expansion, the 1907 immigrant experience. In that one, you are a Russian immigrant in the Great Depression, World War II, and the Civil Rights Movement. All of these games are going to feature either a boy or a girl between the ages of 14 and 16 years old. So the characters are very relatable to our students, and it feels very real. This is a preview for the Revolutionary War game, which is the game that we are going to focus on today.
It is the year 1770. You left your family farm at age 14 to become an apprentice in Boston. Trouble is brewing there. Do you support the views of the Patriots, or are you loyal to the Crown? For Crown or Colony? The game that launched the award-winning Mission US series has gotten a major upgrade. Play it now online. Mission US, an interactive way to learn history.
So that is a really good just preview of the game. Like I said, it's interactive, it's really engaging for students, and I think they'll really enjoy making those connections as they get to interact with the objects that they're, and the people, the places that they're reading about in social studies. So in the game for Revolutionary War, you are Nathan, who's a 14-year-old apprentice in Boston. He grew up on a farm, and he is the youngest son. And at this time, the youngest child could not inherit any property. So he is sent to Boston to apprentice for the master printer Benjamin Eads. His oldest brother was in the 7-Year War, and while he's in Boston, he also wants to see if he can find any information, because his family has not heard from his brother in almost 10 years, and they don't even know if he's alive or dead. So while he's in Boston, the student will get to make choices, and you can see an example of one of the choices on the screen, and that will determine if Benjamin becomes a loyalist or a patriot. So the choices that you make influence your gameplay, which is how you're going to interact with the characters and the places that are in the game. And then you also get to see these badges at the end of each part. So this is what I had at the end of the part 1 that I played. And it just kind of shows you what things you've accomplished and what your reputation is turning into. The cast of characters is really diverse. It features real characters from the time period, as well as fictional characters. A few I want to point out are, here is Paul Revere. So obviously he's most famous for his Midnight Ride, but he was a silversmith in Boston and was a part of the Sons of Liberty. And he made the engraving of the Boston Massacre that was turned into a print that most people are very familiar with. This man is a free black man who is a sailor and works in the wharf. This is another apprentice that is an apprentice rope maker. These two characters are both fictional. This is Benjamin and Martha Eade, and they are the print makers. They are patriots, and he is bound and determined to use the Boston Gazette, which is what he prints to progress the patriot cause. This is Nathan right here. This person right here is Phyllis Wheatley, and she was kidnapped at the age of 7 from West Africa and enslaved. She's 16 in the game, and she's a talented poet. She also believes in the patriot cause, but she has a really hard time finding anybody who will print her work because she is black. She is a real character. This is a British soldier. You will have opportunities to interact with them. These two people right here are Benjamin's parents. Benjamin's father takes him to Boston to sign a contract for his apprenticeship, and his mother is really hesitant to let him go because she has not seen or heard from her older son in so long. The locations in Boston are historic and they're accurate. You can see down here is the map of Boston. It has the Liberty Tree. You can see just how the town is laid out and where things were, which really helps that era come alive for students because they can, anywhere you see a little tag that's telling you what a building is, they can move to those areas and interact with those areas. This up here is the Eads house and the printing shop. They are all connected as one, and Benjamin can move through here and interact with different things. He can examine objects, and the game will actually kind of explain what the different objects in the house are used for, like such as the printing press. It will talk about how that was invented and why it's an important item in this time period. No matter what choices the students make, they are going to witness the Boston Massacre. As the game starts, the trouble is starting to brew, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then one night, Benjamin witnesses the Boston Massacre. Now, depending on the choices the student makes, the point of view is going to be different. So when I played the game, I took the role of a patriot. So I saw the villagers, the townspeople throwing snowballs, but it didn't look like any of them actually hit the soldiers before those soldiers started opening firing on the crowd. Someone who took the viewpoint of a loyalist is probably going to see the townspeople attacking the British soldiers first because there were two different sides and there was so much chaos at this time that it was hard for people to really know exactly what did happen. Everybody seemed to have kind of a different perspective. And that's a really great thing for our students to examine in social studies, is that different points of view make a big difference on what is reported. And again, no matter what choices you make, you will testify in the trials of the British soldiers. You'll share what you saw, and it will not affect the outcome of the trials because those obviously are already determined, but it will help the students see that there were different people sharing different stories. One thing that is really helpful in this game is that the vocabulary is very rich, and when the people use the vocabulary, they're highlighted in yellow or white, and then students can click on them and actually get a little bit of information about that vocabulary word. The other thing about this game that I think is really great is that it is accessible for students that may not be strong readers or may need to hear if they are visually impaired. All of these little vignettes here all can be played out loud so that the students can listen to what the characters are saying and also hear the choices before they make one. Another thing that is fantastic in this game is that students get to interact with primary sources. So this is in Benjamin's print shop, and this pamphlet was there, and I clicked on it so that I could examine it closer. So you can pull it up, and it will show you a little bit of a picture of the primary source. Then it will describe it, and then as you keep scrolling through this pamphlet, it will actually read it to you. Not the whole thing, but pieces of it. The teacher's guide dives deeper into these primary sources and give students a chance to examine them even further. So the teacher's guide. This teacher's guide is absolutely comprehensive and robust. I was so impressed by the activities and instructional strategies that were in this guide. This is really laid out for you. If you follow this, you are going to have an amazing unit on any of those 6 historical periods. What I really loved about this is that it's broken down by each parts of the activities. There are before gameplay activities, there are after gameplay activities, and then in the next 2 slides, there's this chart that really lays it out so nicely. It tells you how long the game is going to take that day, what is going to happen in the story, gives you the target concepts, some activities, the vocabulary the students are going to interact with. I mean, it is just absolutely comprehensive. And then it talks about the primary documents that are in the game and then that are in the teacher's guide that you can use to help your students dive deeper and examining those primary sources. This is just one activity that I picked out from the teacher's guide. There are so many types, but I picked this one because I really, really liked the skills and the questions that were on this. It really has the students examine the point of view of the writer. It's an article from the Boston Gazette and talking about Christopher Snyder's murder. And he was an apprentice who was a patriot, and he was murdered by, we assume, British soldiers, but it wasn't really clear. So it talks about because it wasn't clear, there's a lot of hubbub in Boston about what really happened and what should happen next. One of the soldiers was Richardson, and he was the one that was accused of murdering him. But these questions that I really liked, it's like, what words does the author use? How is he telling that story? Why did he choose those words? What is his point of view? And how is that affecting what the student is reading? And that really is a transferable skill that they will be able to use in reading comprehension, in social studies and science and all sorts of other things. So it's really teaching them how to think about what they're reading. I pulled a few standards that I thought would tie to this game. This game was designed for middle school and up. I think it could probably work for some 5th grade students, probably as an enrichment activity. But this is certainly not the end of the standards that could be met with this game and the teacher's guide. These were just a few that really jumped out at me, and I kind of wanted to hit some middle school and some high school standards so that you could see that it's just got a really wide range of what you can do with it. So that is the end of our presentation. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a lot about Mission US. I'm really excited to use this with my students, and I hope you are too.